My sermon this morning is kind of long, and it's a little complex, but it holds together. Well, I think it holds together. So fasten your seatbelts, because it's going to go. You wonder where I'm going at the beginning for the first half, and then I kind of radically shift gears. But at the end, it all ties in, or that was my intention. I want to preach this morning on the current state of affairs in America and beyond. I intend to approach my subject in a roundabout way via Hindu mythology. I want to use one popular Hindu myth as a lens through which one can see more clearly our political situation. In other words, I want to offer a mythic analysis of our current national and global political situation, and to do so in metaphorical language and imagery found in Hinduism's Diwali myth. Diwali is an annual Hindu festival celebrated this time of year. In fact, this coming Thursday, October 19th, will be Diwali for 2017. On Diwali, Indians across the subcontinent make and light beautifully colored lanterns and put them all around their yards and houses, and also set them afloat down the Ganges River as part of their celebrations. The idea behind Diwali is to reenact and commemorate the mythic triumph of Prince Rama, the Indian Lord of Light, over Ravana, the god of illusion. That is, the triumph of light over darkness and of order over disorder. Now this on the cover is Rama. The ancient legend being reenacted goes like this. Rama's father, the king, gets drunk one night and in a rage banishes Rama, his eldest son, and Rama's wife, Sita, from the capital. For the next 14 years, the two wander through the forests of the south, the land of illusion. Throughout this time, Rama goes hunting daily with his bow and arrows. You see his quiver on his shoulder there, while Sita keeps their camp. Whenever the prince leaves to go hunting, he would draw a wide circle around the camp and warn his bride not to venture beyond it. This was the circle of concentration, or place of yoga, the mandala. But one day a visitor came in a wonderful flying machine, Ravana, the lord of illusion. Quickly, the treacherous Ravana takes the form of a deer and leads Rama off in pursuit. After leading Rama far away from the mandala circle, Ravana again changes his form, becoming a poor mendicant begging for alms. Approaching the camp, he cleverly shames Sita into venturing outside of the circle. It's very bad form in Hinduism to ignore a beggar, so Sita is easily tricked into disobeying her husband's order and leaving the mandala. Alas, once she does this, that is, once she loses her concentration, the illusion god kidnaps her and runs off to his stronghold on the island of Ceylon. Immediately, Rama senses something is wrong. The deer has disappeared. He gets this sense. He runs back to the campsite, but it's already too late. The whole area is empty and still. He breaks down and cries. Before long, however, he regains his composure and sets off on a very long quest to find his partner and bring her home. In this epic search, Rama meets many allies and many distractions, but eventually he connects with Hanuman, the leader of the monkey kingdom and symbol of our primal animal nature. If, like our hero, you want to break through illusion and back into the circle of awareness, start by trusting your your body, your intuitive animal nature, not your disembodied head to lead you the proper way. In any case, Hanuman and Rama quickly become allies. The Monkey King sends off thousands of his little primate subjects in every direction to search for Princess Sita. Before long, all the monkeys return, except for those who had been sent to Ceylon. So it is that Rama, Hanuman, and the remaining monkey army, figuring out that that meant Sita was on Ceylon, set off to find her. Well, they find her, and they go into a war battle, and it's horrific, pure carnage. Ravana, you see, this prince of illusion, is one of those strange mythological beasts like the Hydra of the Greeks. He had 10 heads and many arms, and also, like the Hydra, every time one of his heads or limbs gets cut off, 2 grow in its place. For this is the main quality of illusion. The more caught up in it one gets, the more consumptive and self-destroying it is, or becomes. Well, against such odds, overwhelming odds, Rama and Hanuman were losing, and losing badly, until fortunately, and in the nick of time, the other gods intervened. Ravana and his allies were defeated and put to death. The holiday of Diwali, then, celebrates this cosmic victory of Rama over Ravana and his and Sita's return to the capital in central India. It's about the re-enthronement of light, the god of light, and the defeat of illusion. Now, to truly understand this story, one has to realize that, as in all myth, all the different parts of the story are all happening all at once, all the time. The king is drunk. Illusion is calling us outside the circle of concentration. Our animal nature is trying to reconnect with our higher self in the service of truth. Light is battling darkness, and truth, light, is being re-enthroned. All the parts of the myth are always happening at the same time. All at once. Or as the late Joseph Campbell put it, the latest incarnation of Oedipus, the continued romance of Beauty and the Beast, stands this afternoon on the corner of 42nd Street and 5th Avenue, waiting for the traffic light to change. Like Beauty and the Beast, like Oedipus, like much of the Bible, Diwali is a myth. An extended metaphor or series of metaphors, a sort of collective cultural dream offering us insight into what our life here on earth is all about. I realize well enough that there are many people out there who would dismiss epic poetry and all dreams, as well as most of our myths, as nonsense or airy nothing, and who would also dismiss those who take dreams seriously as fools. And yet, we all have our dreams, no matter who we are. We all envision a future by dreaming about it, as did each one of the MacArthur Foundation geniuses mentioned moments ago in my meditation. And it is my contention that it is often the anti-dream, anti-myth types, the so-called realists, whose own dreams about the future, though unrecognized as such, are, in fact, the most dangerous. I refer to the current dreams of high-level Republican operatives and some Democrats in the defense and intelligence community, the dreams of the national security state and the war on terror. Keep in mind the Diwali myth, because the illusory dreams of national security state and the war on terror are precisely what Diwali is all about. Now, it happens that cosmologically, the Hindus believe that the universe goes in 8,640,000,000 year cycles, 4,320 years of day, followed by 4,320,000,000 years of light. And that as we near the end of each cycle or day of Brahma, things begin to degenerate badly. They further believe that we are very near the end of a cycle now. In fact, in our present day and age, things have degenerated so badly that Ravana, this god of illusion, wears the mantle of great authority and all the trappings of respectability and power. So that now we have celebrated political leaders and some equally celebrated religious figures who are in fact crooks, illusionists, and conmen. Now, I've been involved in theater most of my life, both as an actor and as an audience member. Meanwhile, I'm professionally involved in designing and creating ritual worship services every Sunday morning. It's a big part of my job. So I'm a serious student of both forms, myth and ritual, and theater. It is my observation, essentially, that the function of myth and ritual is to strip away illusion and to reveal, through the use of metaphor, imagery, and narrative, the really, really real, the true. Theater, on the other hand, creates illusion. It's all about smoke and mirrors. That's its design and its purpose. Its passion for smoke and mirrors comes out of that. Myth and ritual strip away illusion. Drama creates it. Nowadays, most of the news broadcasts coming out of Washington are far more theater than fact. Former President Reagan, trained as an actor, gets a lot of credit for turning illusion creation into a DC way of life. But neither he nor the Republicans were the first to try this kind of thing. Basically, they're just good at pulling it off. Perhaps some of you have seen the brilliant documentary movie I.F. Stone's Journal, about the dogged efforts of the late Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist I.F. Stone, Isidore Stone, to reveal and document Johnson administration malfeasance during the Vietnam War. The opening words of that documentary are chilling. All governments lie to their people. All governments, whether ancient or modern, democratic or totalitarian. And in the course of the movie, narrator Stone substantiates his charge with half a dozen movie clips, some which Ken Burns also used in his recent documentary, showing Cabinet Secretaries Rusk and McNamara engaged in deliberate documented lying to the American people. Lies that were uncovered only through painstaking journalistic research and later confirmed in the Pentagon Papers that were released or stolen and then released by Daniel Ellsberg. Ken Burns' PBS series, Vietnam, contained footage documenting even further these lies. But I.F. Stone's point is that all governments lie, not only Lyndon Johnson's, and not only the current administration. In his final report on the Iran-Contra affair, Special Prosecutor Lawrence Walsh named both Presidents Reagan and George H.W. Bush as having been fully aware of the whole operation and the cover-up. Millions of American dollars, billions of American dollars, unaccounted for and beyond public review, scrutiny, or control, diverted to fund an illegal war, international terrorism of our own, and election interference against the peasants of Central America. In El Salvador, military units trained by military and national security personnel at Fort Benning, Georgia, are implicated in the assassination of Archbishop Oscar Romero, the El Mazote massacre of 900 civilians, and the abduction, rape, and murder of 4 American churchwomen. The Salvadorian generals who ordered that particular atrocity, incidentally, are living on CIA pensions, very generous ones, paid for by you and me, in West Palm Beach, Florida. All governments lie. Our government has been lying about its foreign policy for years, misleading the people with appeals to patriotism and the spreading of democracy, while theoretically distracting them from what's, while rather theatrically distracting them from what's what they are really doing, enforcing global corporate dominion. In his book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, John Perkins, a former respected member of the international banking community, describes how, as a highly paid professional, he helped the U.S. cheat poor countries around the globe out of trillions of dollars by lending them more money than they could possibly repay, and then taking over their economies by privatizing public assets that had been used as collateral. Perkins writes of the book, this book was to be dedicated to the presidents of two countries, men who had been my clients and whom I respected and thought of as kindred spirits. Jaime Roldos, president of Ecuador, and Omar Trujillos, president of Panama. Both had just died in fiery plane crashes. Their deaths were not accidental. They were assassinated because they opposed that fraternity of corporate, government, and banking heads whose goal is global empire. We economic hitmen failed to bring Roldos and Trujillos around, and the other type of hitmen, the CIA-sanctioned jackals who were always right behind us, stepped in. Critics of the intelligence community have long contended that the institutional secrecy these agents operate under allows them too much latitude and too little oversight. Indeed, the Pike and Church Committee hearings of the 1970s revealed broad-based abuses of the intelligence community, including CIA surveillance of legal American political groups and CIA-sponsored mind control experiments performed on unwilling subjects. Congressional oversight of the intelligence community was increased, and under President Carter, the CIA was forced to institute modest reforms. The old hands of the agency, who formerly had at their disposal almost unlimited black budget funds for covert operations, were suddenly forced into retirement or forced into compliance with the new guidelines, causing the secret cells of the good old boy networks to bury themselves and their illegal activities even deeper. In this element, birthed in the hysteria of the Cold War, legitimized by the paranoia of the national security state, and more recently by the war on terror, and nurtured by the politics of greed, which has buried itself in the core of American politics. As longtime Army criminal investigator Gene Wheaton defines it, these people are, quote, an elite, very clandestine, very covert group within the intelligence community. The CIA is just the lightning rod for the people who really control things, the little conspiratorial cliques within the government. I was amazed at how frequently Ken Burns included the commentary of John Negroponte in his PBS series. A minor state official in Vietnam, Negroponte was a major player in the design and operation of Iran-Contra, one of the same little conspiratorial cliques going back through the Bay of Pigs, Laos, Nicaragua, the Soviet war in Afghanistan, on up to the Iraq fiasco, and now the American war in Afghanistan, who have been involved for decades in everything from drug and gun running to assassinations, covert warfare, and outright terrorism. Following the GOP victory in 2000, they were openly in charge, brought right back in to the seat of leadership. Men like John Poindexter, Elliot Abrams, and John Negroponte, ringleaders of Iran-Contra, suddenly directing policy in the so-called war on terror, rendition, torture, the smearing of anyone who dares question such policies, and most of all, war without end. Unending imperial war, foisted on the American public by fixed intelligence, and waged by men who've spent their whole lives as black ops and dirty tricks apparatchiks of the national security state. President Trump says he wants to upend the deep state, by which he apparently means this same small circle of national security state insiders. But I am convinced that all he really wants is to control it. The Trumpites and the national security insiders both tell us that the war on terror is a war to spread democracy. But such declarations are nothing more than Ravana at work, from the Bay of Pigs to Iran-Contra to Baghdad and now Kabul. And what next? Pyongyang? Indeed, this whole war on terror, as far as I can tell, is mainly distraction, a cleverly designed illusion to lead Rama after a false target and out of the mandala, the sacred place of concentration, so that Sita and all the rest of us can be kidnapped. Kidnapped to an island of rampant, addictive consumerism, and cut off from the real world of natural life and human interrelationship. The real issue, what's really going on in the world, is growing global corporate dominion, essentially a return to feudalism, with corporations replacing the feudal lords and working people the world over cast in the role of vassals. A new world order supported by our CIA and those who believe dirty tricks and black ops are perfectly okay if it increases corporate hegemony and pays good dividends. The American military budget is now more than all the other military budgets in the world combined. For a brief period once the Cold War ended, and along with it any conceivable reason to maintain this trillion-dollar idiocy, national security mythologists did not know quite what to do, until they resolved to scare us into lockstep compliance by hyping third world hooligans like Saddam Hussein, North Korea's Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un's father, and Osama bin Laden, and so threatening our vaulted national security that we have to keep it all going forever and ever ad nauseum, and heaven help anyone who questions it. They used to call you a communist for even bringing these issues up. Now they'll imply that you're a dupe of ISIS or North Korea. God help us. This is what it'll take, by the way, according to the Diwali myth. But also according to the myth, that will not happen until we help ourselves first. By recognizing the terrible danger in these nightmare dreams of national security and the war on terror, dreams that have turned our land of the free into one in which an all but secret oligarchy determines policy serving multinational corporate interests, paid by the dwindling middle class and poor, all to maintain a global empire that does not and never will serve human need, nor our true national interest. For ultimately, it all comes down to this. The national security war on terror myth is founded on the illusion of security through force. Security through force is a lie, an illusion, one based on fear and shame, a trick of Ravana's, perhaps the greatest of all of his tricks. It is an illusion that led us into a war with a hydra, so that for 50 years, every arms increase required further increases to stay ahead of the Russians. And now that their empire is in shambles, to stay ahead of Iranian Ayatollahs, ISIS rebels in Syria, and of course, the Taliban. And people act dismayed when you say that myth is alive in the modern world. My God, if the war on terror and the situation in Afghanistan are not battles with a hydra, I don't know what is. It is this security through force illusion that informs American adventurism across the globe. In the words of Daniel Ellsberg, himself a former CIA operative who leaked the Pentagon Papers to the press, in Vietnam, there was a war inside a country in which one side, not the other, was entirely paid, recruited, equipped, trained, and directed by foreigners. It was not a civil war. That was the real secret of the Pentagon Papers. We Americans were not on the wrong side in Vietnam. We were the wrong side. And all too often, we're on the wrong side, are the wrong side, in all these imperial conflicts. El Salvador or Nicaragua, Colombia, Iraq, and now among the mountain tribes of Central Asia. The saddest aspect of all this is that so little of it is really news. We all know it. David Gergen, advisor to 4 presidents, even admitted as much in a cover article in the Sunday New York Times magazine about 8 years ago. 9/10 of what came out of his office while in the White House, he admitted, had nothing to do with anything that was real. It was all packaging, advertising, and illusion making. All the magic of Ravana. And none of it, I might add, more ungrounded in reality than the national security state's war on terror. With Donald Trump in the White House, there's now a whole layer of reality TV thrown in. Sort of a smokescreen, in my estimation, to keep us all distracted even more. The only real security is the inner security available through personal realization of one's inner self and of one's purposes and responsibilities to life and the pursuit of brother-sisterhood, none of which can be found through bombing insurgents or torturing captives or smearing critics, but through yoga, that is, through yoking or linking one's inner self and one's concentration to the really real, to light, to loving community, and to the dispelling of illusion. For it is only when we get in touch with the true sources of power within us and within our communities that we can begin to creatively go into battle by hooking up with our intuitive inner nature and setting out to recapture our lost wife, or rather, our nourishing creative aspect on the island of her captivity. The battle ahead is bound to be horrific. Indeed, it already is horrific all around us and within each one of us every day. But as the late Mother Teresa, herself of India, often used to say, God did not call us to be successful, but to be faithful. In other words, and in more humanistic terms, if we want to turn this corporate feudalism, Iraq, CIA, war on terror, reality TV thing around, we've got to be willing to go to the wall, to give it our all, because there's always more to reality than meets the eye. The gods can intervene, but they won't and never do until we have given our utmost, as Rama and Hanuman were willing to do, as our patriot forebears did, against great odds to establish our free, open, democratic way of life, now so desperately imperiled, as Abraham Lincoln was willing to do to preserve it, and as Daniel Ellsberg was willing to do as well. And as we too must be willing to do, to see through the monster illusion of the national security state and the war on terror, that we may regain and reinvigorate our only real security, that found in our imperiled constitutional rights and gained through the slothful exercise of our freedom to be whole and ourselves and within loving community of open, concentrated fellowship, so that light and truth may once again return to the capital and be enthroned as Lord. Amen.